So my little trip to the old Draft League City broadcasting station had taught me one thing. I needed to find an expert in the field of hacks. Going through some old newsreel pointed me in the direction of one Sir Ian Grace. Worked up at the Draft League University. So I scheduled in a call to see what he had to say on the matter. Sir Ian, thanks for taking the time.
Please, detective, don't mention it. How can I help you? I understand you had some questions regarding my research at the university?
Yeah, that's right. A little ways back, you were on the news talking about something that could affect battling outcomes. Is that right?
Ah, you mean the hinged advantage expression. Yes, hacks has been the focus of my research here for quite some time now.
How'd you come to be looking into that?
It wasn't the initial subject of my team's attention, to be honest, but my department has always been really interested in isolating the way that luck can shape someone's fortunes. But we've never looked into actually affecting that variable. About 2 years ago, we received a very generous grant from who was it? It was a consortium. That's it, the Vice Gambling Consortium.
And why would a gambling organization be funding your research?
Well, it came with the caveat that we would use it to prevent the manipulation of fortunes within their sphere. Effectively, we'd be using it to stop cheating.
Huh. It's just, in your interview, you seemed a lot more concerned with its negative applications.
Well, at the time, it seemed there was a correlation. Our research was preventing the kinds of things that were happening within Draft League City. My statements were simply hypothetical regarding what could happen if the research was to be misused.
I see. And this expression, it's what exactly is it? It can't just be some vacuous idea. There's got to be something more concrete to it, right?
Correct. In truth, it's nothing more than a few mathematical equations with real-world outcomes, though their complexity is quite staggering. The funding we received it's really helped us expand our research into it.
So this research you were doing, putting something tangible in place to prevent cheating or affecting the odds. You mentioned the idea of it being misused. In your professional opinion, could something like that be weaponized or reverse engineered?
Weaponized? It's highly unlikely with the safeguards that have been put in place after the alter ego incident. But to be reverse engineered? Certainly not outside the realms of possibility. As I have said, it's merely a mathematical equation. A solution is one direction, nothing more than a factor in another direction.
That a concern you currently have?
I doubt it would ever come to that, detective. We keep our research very well guarded. Nobody else on my team has access to it. Well, aside from the Vice Gambling Consortium themselves, of course.
The consortium has access?
Certainly. They're the main benefactors of our work into reducing cheating in their establishments. After all, in reality, this research is for them to use.
I see. Well, thanks for your time, Sir Ian. I'll be in touch if anything else should come up.
Of course. Anytime, Detective Striker.
Well, that ain't good. Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome to the third battle of PPL NX Stage 2. Yes indeed, we've got off to a great start with 2 4-0 wins on the bounce, but today we are taking on Elly and the Shanghai Dreigons. Her link's down in the description below, make sure you check her out. She is one of my best friends in the world. She's a fantastic battler, and she's got a pretty nasty team to go up against. The things she can choose from are Great Tusk, Gholdengo, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Zapdos, Glamora, Noivern, Incineroar, Araquanid, Hatterene, Chimecho, and the mascot pick of Poliwhirl. The things that can Tera on her side are the Noivern, Incineroar, Araquanid, Chimecho, and Poliwhirl. There are some pretty premier Tera threats there. Tera Noivern Boomburst is always something to watch out for. Banded Tera Water Araquanid is also nasty, along with the defensive Teras that it can bring to the game as well, with some pretty nasty bulk to try and break through. So, starting off our team is going to be Power Herb Terrapagos here, with Tera Starstorm, Earth Power, Meteor Beam, and Rapid Spin. This is pretty much going to be my lead, actually. We're just max special attack, max speed, timid nature going on there. Ideally, we want to see a Rapid Spin lead off. If it's a non-Terrad, for example, Araquanid, or like the Zapdos, we can just go for a big Meteor Beam and try and do massive damage to it, and try and break early with Terrapagos is the aim here, to clean up for other members of the team along the way. Another one of those to help out is going to be our second member, that is Iron Treads. We are Pasho Berry on here, max attack, Adamant, 236 speed, Earthquake, Stone Edge, Mega Horn, and this is our second Rapid Spinner. Elly does like to Hazard Stack. She's used Ogerpon to do that before. We have a Glamora with the potential Toxic Debris. We have the potential Webs on Araquanid. There's a lot of hazards that I don't want to be a part of. So double Rapid Spinner here. The Pasho Berry, pretty much there because this should be tempting in the Ogerpon Wellspring, which we get massive Mega Horn damage off on if needs be. So yeah, Terrapagos and Treads looking to break early, if at all possible. To make way potentially for one of our sweepers, one of those is going to be Life Orb Mew. Bringing along Life Orb Agility Mew, in fact. 152 speeds, timid, is allowing us to outpace everything, including some of the slower Scarfers. Psychic Noise, Earth Power, and Sludge Bomb goes pretty hard across the board when it comes to Elly's team. And Life Orb Mew hits pretty hard indeed. It's a set that I've used against her previously, actually, and did quite well with, so hopefully we can get a bit of a return to form from Mew there. Scrolling down on my list, the next member of the team, we've gone very heavy with setup here because we have Loaded Dice, Scale Shot, Swords Dance, Haxorus coming in next. With the Unnerve, Earthquake, and Poison Jab are the coverage moves. With the Swords Dance up and 192 attack Jolly, this can do a heck of a lot of damage to most of Elly's team, getting around Sugar Berries on the likes of Glamora and Gholdengo, Poison Weakening Berries on the likes of Hatterene, and Scale Shot with the Swords Dance up can do a big amount of damage, hitting either 4 or 5 times with that Loaded Dice. Then we have our two Tera Captains. First up, we have Tera Ground Heavy Duty Boots Kilowattrel making its debut with Hurricane, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, and Terra Blast. Again, this can do massive amounts of damage. The only thing really taking neutral hits there is going to be any of the Tera Captains potentially, the Noivern, the Zapdos, and they don't really want to take Thunderbolts and Hurricanes. To be honest, we have the Terra Blast Ground on there, pretty much for the Gholdengo and that Glamora. And we have competitive, just in case the Incineroar wants to try and get cheeky, or like, for example, Moonblast drops or things like that can get Kilowattrel going pretty well indeed. And then we have the final member of the team. We're facing Elly, and that means there's going to be memes afoot on both sides, and we are bringing Poltchageist. Yes, Poltchageist here, we are Tera Stella. Yes, Tera Stella, Eviolite, physically defensive, Calm Mind Poltchageist. With Giga Drain, Shadow Ball, and School, this is kind of my cope answer to the Great Tusk. It's not the best cope answer in the world, but that's what coping is for. I should say that if I can get a Calm Mind up and get my Stella off, a Giga Drain will OHKO a max HP Assault Vest Great Tusk. And that's kind of the calc that made me bring this. But, you know, it can do some work here. You know, there's potential for Poltchageist to be able to do some stuff against the Great Tusk, the Ogerpon even, maybe even the Glamora and the Incineroar, potentially. And indeed the Araquanid. You know, this Poltchageist can take a few hits here and there.
try and get some health back with Giga Drain. It's a shame it doesn't get Strength Sap, but there you go. That's what we're working with. That is the team I'm going to be bringing against Elly. So without further ado, let's get into the battle screen and see what she decided to bring against us. So, as you can see, Elly has decided to bring Poliwhirl, Zapdos, Great Tusk, Goldengo, the Ogerpon Wellspring, and the Araquanid. That is Tera Poison on the Poliwhirl and Tera Electric on the Araquanid. Now, either way, my plan doesn't change. I am going to be leading with my Terapagos to try and break something as early as possible. It has a fairly decent matchup into most things. I doubt there's anything on her team that can OHKO me. So, without further ado, let's get into it and see how she decides to respond to this. So, here we go, PPL NX Stage 2, Battle 3 against Elly and the Shanghai Dreigons. She is going to be leading off with the Araquanid, as I'm just going to go with my Turtle, my Terapagos. Now, lead Araquanid that isn't Tera Water implies it possibly isn't a Choice Banded set, and if she's predicting my special offensive lead, I'm a little bit worried here about her going just straight for Mirror Coat, because I can do a good amount of damage to this guy and Mirror Coat will just go through my Tera Shell. So while I really do want to click the Meteor Beam, there's always a chance she just Terras and Mirror Coat, so I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is try and scout for it, go for the Rapid Spin. That will set me up quite nicely with +1 speed if I can get through this Araquanid to take on whatever she wants to go into, and with me at +1 speed, it will force her to reveal, if she has one, a Choice Scarfer. So, Rapid Spin, gonna be my play here. So, here comes the Rapid Spin. It does a nominal amount of damage. We get our Speed Raise, and as you can see, Elly is just gonna go for the Liquidation. It's not going to be very effective, obviously, but it still does a sizable chunk of damage. This is a mild problem for me, but it doesn't change my plan. I am just going to go for my Power Herb Meteor Beam. I'm kind of banking on the fact that Elly is going to want to Tera the Poliwhirl, because it's a Poliwhirl, and if that is the case, then we have a fairly decent shot of potentially taking this thing out, unless it is Assault Vest. So, I'm going to lock in my Meteor Beam there and see if we can't get some major damage into this Araquanid. Now, unfortunately for me, Elly does see this coming. You know, she wasn't born yesterday, she's a very good player, she knows the threat of Meteor Beam, so she is actually going to Tera the Araquanid here, like a coward, not Terroring her Poliwhirl. I was disappointed in that, but I am going to go for the Meteor Beam and see if we can't get a good amount of damage onto this Araquanid. So, gonna get the special attack boost. We're now at +1/+1, which is nice. We're going to land the Meteor Beam, which is great, and this does nothing. It does so little damage, I was disappointed. In comes Liquidation. We are gonna live it, but unfortunately this does prove the Araquanid is Assault Vested. And that means that there is a fairly decent chance that this incoming +1 Tera Starstorm is not going to KO the Araquanid. That is a problem, but at this point I am kind of committed to just getting damage onto it with Terapagos. If Terapagos has to go down, so be it. It's already put in a good shift in yesterday's game. So I'm happy to just try and get as much damage as possible onto Araquanid, and then potentially try and set up with something else to go on from there. So, in is going to come the Tera Starstorm, and as you'll see, it comes achingly close to getting the KO, but it's not quite going to come off. The Leech Life is going to come in from Araquanid, and not really put it in range to take any future hit coming in, but that is going to be my Terapagos down. However, we now know this thing is definitely not Choice Banded Araquanid, it's at very low health, and this is free real estate for my Haxorus to come in and try and do some work. Now, tempted though I was to go into Sinister, Haxorus is ostensibly the better play in this regard. There's very little shot that this Araquanid is going to be able to take me out in one hit, so I am going to go for the Swords Dance here, pretty confident that I'll be able to take one hit from this Araquanid, and then hopefully go for a Scale Shot afterwards, take it out, get to +2 attack, +1 speed, and then that kind of puts us in the same position as we were if Terapagos had done this work. It would force in a Scarfer if she has one, or something else is going to have to take a monumental hit. So, I'm going to go for the Swords Dance, assuming that she's not going to be able to OHKO me, and then get a Scale Shot off, hopefully, and go onwards from there. So, in comes the Sword Stance from Haxorus. We are now a Haxorus at +2 attack, and that is not something anyone wants to be staring down. In comes Liquidation. That is going to do a good amount of damage, 120 points of it. Now, I can live another Liquidation. However, I am just going to go for the kill here, and there's a few reasons why. Firstly, if I set up a Sword Stance, she puts me in range of the next hit, and I miss a Scale Shot, that's going to leave me really open. As you'll see, the Scale Shot will hit and take out the Arachnid. The other thing I didn't want to happen was a potential Icy Wind, because that would set me right back to neutral speed, and then she can bring in something like the Ogerpon. But as it is, we're at +2 attack, we're at +1 speed, and realistically there's not a lot that wants to come in here. The only things realistically that want to take this on are a very physically bulky Zapdos or the Great Tusk. And if the Great Tusk is offensive, if we get 5 hits with Scale Shots, it's going down. So, in comes the Great Tusk. Now, I could switch out here with Haxorus, but realistically there's not a lot else that I can set up a Sword Stance on. I'm kind of committed here, and I don't really want to be switching in on the Great Tusk if I can avoid it. Now, like I say, if this is offensive and she has to attack, she can't mess around here. If she's an offensive Great Tusk, Scale Shot with 5 hits should be taking it out. I think it's a roll very much in my favour to do so. And like I say, I'm committed here to going for the Scale Shot, so that's what's going to happen. In it comes, and as you'll see, 5 hits is absolutely going to be taking out the Great Tusk from there. There's the third one, fourth one is going to come in too, and we get the 4 hits. Very unfortunate. I mean, 5 hits there and the game was looking like it might just be over. The Headlong Rush, of course, is going to come in and take out Haxorus. So, unfortunately, just the 1 kill, actually, for Haxorus today. Yeah, fortunate for Elly. I think she'd be willing to admit as well we didn't get 5 hits there, because that would have been very bad. I mean, Zapdos could have potentially taken a hit further on, but then it would have been in a very low range of health. Unfortunately, we didn't get the 5 hits on Scale Shot, but that is just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But I have a fair few options that I can go into here. Don't imagine that this is going to be a Scarfed set. So again, I'm considering going into the Poltchageist. But in the end, what I decide to do is just go with my Iron Treads. Try and claim my kill, and potentially bring in something like the Ogerpon. Lure that in to try and get damage onto that afterwards. So in comes Iron Treads, and we have a past versus future Donphan off. I am kind of gambling on the fact that this is not going to be a Choice Scarf variant of Great Tusk. So I am just going to stay in here and click Earthquake. I don't see any reason for Elly to save the Tusk at the moment. Like, sure, she could go into the Zapdos, but I don't think she's going to want to do that under the risk of like an Ice Spinner coming in and doing big damage. So I'm just going to stay in, go for the Earthquake, and thankfully Elly is just going to leave in the Great Tusk to go down. So we're 7 turns in and we're already playing a 4v4 of full health Mons against each other. Iron Treads claims a KO, and now in for Elly is going to come the Poliwhirl. Now, I'm taking this fairly seriously as a threat. If she goes for Rain Dance into like a Belly Drum on my switch into something, that's going to be bad news bears for me, and she may very well just win the game with Poliwhirl. I cannot let that happen. That is a no-no. So what I'm going to do is go for Earthquake here and try and get some consistent damage. And if she is a setup variant, hopefully that will just stop her dead in her tracks from doing that. If she gets the Rain up and I can get an Earthquake off and do 50-ish%, then my Pasho Berry will come into play and I should be able to take out the Poliwhirl after that. So that's my game plan with the Treads here. I still feel pretty safe against the Poliwhirl. I am just going to go for the Earthquake and look for my damage. So, in comes the Earthquake. As you'll see, this is going to do over half, which is nice. That's not. She's packing Hypnosis, and she hits. That is unfortunate for me. Didn't want that to happen. If that had missed, then she would have been in range to just die from another Earthquake, and that would have been fantastic. But unfortunately, that is not the way this is going to go. I'm going to have to potentially get on out of there, because now would be an opportune time for this thing to set up. If she's like Hypnosis, Belly Drum, Rain Dance, Mono, Water attacking, this could be pretty bad news bears for me. Thankfully, she's going to switch on out of there with Dumpy, Elly is going to go into HP Electric because deep down she despises me and wants to bring back bad memories. We do burn a turn of sleep as the Ogerpon comes in, but now I really can't stick around with the treads. I'm going to need to get out of there. I do have a Pasho Berry, but it's not something that I want to burn while I'm sleeping because then she can just revenge me straight afterwards. I don't have a massive amount that wants to come in, but Mew is looking like the most likely. Either that or the Killer Wattrel, because whilst I'm asleep and potentially switching out, this is a fairly free knockoff, especially looking at what I've got left. So what it's actually going to be for me is going to be the Killer Wattrel. So, going to pull Iron Treads back, like I say, and go into the debuting, bussin' the Killer Wattrel. Shout out to the Uzi Gunner. It is going to be the knockoff that comes in. We will take this, but my goodness, we don't take it well. That is bad. The heavy duty boots are gone from me, but looking at the rest of Elly's team, it doesn't look like there's any hazards going on her side outside of what's already gone down that will affect Killer Wattrel. So, knowing that she's going to want to get the heck on out of there, she's not going to want to stay in with Ogerpon versus Killer Wattrel. But her electric immunity in the form of Great Tusk is gone, so this is a very free Volt Switch for Killer Wattrel. So, Ogerpon is out of there. Elly obviously not wanting to stay in with that against a Kilo. And in is going to come the Gholdengo, her best mid-ground switch. As we're just going to go for a Volt Switch and do precious little to this Gholdengo. Could be quite a specially defensive build. This is a fairly good opportunity to either burn a turn of sleep on my Iron Treads or go into Mew and try and do some damage to this. Gholdengo is something I desperately do need to weaken. But it's whether I value getting damage on it / forcing it out with Mew, potentially taking a Shadow Ball for my troubles, or trying to burn a turn of sleep with an Iron Treads that can very easily be built specially defensively to try and take on the likes of this Gholdengo. And it is going to be the Mew that comes in. Now, much as Iron Treads can be built to take on Gholdengo, so too can a Mew. And Elly will know that I've used Agility Life Orb against her before. And she might also be fearing a Weakness Policy Mew built to take a Shadow Ball from this Gholdengo. So I'm kind of predicting her to want to get on out of there with the Gholdengo right about now, which will give Mew the freedom to try and go for some hits. And that is what's going to happen. The Gholdengo going to get out of there. Elly not happy with this matchup. And it is going to be the Poliwhirl that comes back onto the field of play. We're just going to go for the Earth Power, looking for damage into the Gholdengo. It's not going to do an inordinate amount to the Poliwhirl, reveal our Life Orb, but we're pretty sure we're going to be outpacing, and honestly, a Psychic Noise at this point will be fine. She's not going to be able to go for Hypnosis, but again, I don't want this Poliwhirl doing anything more nasty to my team. If it's got Hypnosis, it could have other nasty things as well. So, I am just going to go for the Psychic Noise, claim my KO. Thankfully, we do not let the Poliwhirl get a KO against us, which was a relief, to say the least. So now, back in is going to come the Ogerpon, and once again, this is a very free knockoff for Elly. However, with my investment, I will take a knockoff from max invested Jolly Ogerpon. I will not take it well, but I will at the very least take the hit. So I am going to have to stay in here with Mew and kind of eat shit from a knockoff, but it's going to give me that chance to get the all-important Sludge Bomb damage. So, knockoff comes in, that is going to get rid of my Life Orb, but thankfully and crucially, we live it. Sludge Bomb is going to come in and do a good amount of damage, round about 65-ish%. But right now, Mew is kind of unsalvageable here. There's not a whole huge amount more it's going to be able to do, and I don't want to take another hit from the Ogerpon. So I am just going to stay in here. I'm going to click Agility on the absolute off chance that she hard switches, but Elly's not going to let my Mew do any more damage to her team. She is just going to go for the U-turn. So, Mew is going to go down, but it's got some very nice chip damage here. It's taken out the Poliwhirl, and now we are going to be able to get the initiative on whatever Elly is choosing to bring in. And in comes the Gholdengo. Now, this is going to be prime opportunity, and realistically, my only potential opportunity to burn more sleep turns with my Iron Treads. So that is what I'm going to have to do here. If I want Treads to wake up, it kind of has to be now. The kind of thing I'm expecting here is for me to bring in Treads and for her to just go hard back into the Ogerpon, hoping that I stay asleep. So that is the play I am going to make. In comes the Iron Treads to try and either get damage onto Gholdengo or threaten it out. Either way, I need to burn those sleep turns. Now, Elly is going to immediately withdraw Gholdengo and make the play that I figured she would and go into that Ogerpon as we stay asleep, which is unfortunate. But we've burnt a couple of turns, which is nice, and knowing that we still have our Pasho Berry, we will live an Ivy Cudgel. So I really just have to wake up here and nail a hit onto this Ogerpon. Now I could go for the Mega Horn, but if I wake up and miss, that will make me a sad panda. So what I'm actually going to do is go for Rapid Spin, get my speed to outpace the Ogerpon if I wake up, and then go for an Earthquake to guarantee this thing goes down. So, in comes the Ivy Cudgel. As you'll see, we are going to proc our Pasho Berry, so this is not going to KO. It is going to score a crit, which is very unfortunate, but thankfully, we make up for it by waking up here. So, going to be able to get that Rapid Spin off, and that is fantastic stuff. The Ogerpon is now very much in range of an Earthquake, so I don't have to risk the Mega Horn miss and potentially just lose to the Ogerpon late game. So in comes the Earthquake, and as we know, the Ogerpon is out of range despite the lack of effectiveness that it will go down to Treads' Earthquake, which is great news. So Treads is at +1 speed. All that is left on Elly's side is going to be the Gholdengo and the Zapdos. Now Gholdengo has no right coming in here whatsoever. As you'll see, it is going to be second Zap Pippin. It is the Zapdos. Now, much as it would be cool to save my Iron Treads, there's every chance that Gholdengo could be a Choice Scarfer. It hasn't been revealed yet. I'm kind of anticipating it actually to be Sugar Berry, but I don't want to take that risk. And we do have Stone Edge to at least get some nice consistent damage on Zapdos. Thankfully we hit, and that takes Zapdos down by about, again, 65-ish%. The Heat Wave is going to come in, and that's going to take out my Iron Treads. So what we are left with is a matchup of a low health, both of our low health electric flying types. On Elly's side it is the Gholdengo, and on my side the Sinistcha. So I'm going to go into my Kilowattrel here. The Zapdos is looking like it might be in range of a T-Bolt, but seeing how little damage the Volt Switch did to the Gholdengo, there is a chance that it is quite specially defensive and might live a Thunderbolt into a Terra Blast, especially if it is Sugar Berry. What I'm kind of anticipating Elly to do here is switch out and save this Zapdos to potentially switch up moves if it is indeed choiced in some way. Probably isn't choiced, it's probably Boots, but I'm kind of anticipating, like I say, her to switch on out, so what I'm actually going to do here is go for the Volt Switch, kind of hoping that she does switch, so I can get damage on the Gholdengo and set up Kilowattrel to try and late game this. Unfortunately, Elly doesn't play ball, and we barely miss out on the KO. If we'd have gone for Thunderbolt, Zapdos would have been down, and it would have been Gholdengo versus the world. As it is, we have to go into Spill It Sis. It's the Poltchageist. We don't have a choice here. In is going to come the Heat Wave, and that is going to do nothing. It does 100 points of damage. Was really happy with how little damage that did. Now, I'm a physically defensive build, so if this is got any offensive investment for the Zapdos, going for a Calm Mind isn't necessarily going to matter if she wants to go for a Hurricane here. So what I'm going to do is just go for damage with Shadow Ball. If she goes for Hurricane, it's going to take us out. There's nothing really we can do about that. If she goes for Roost, then I'm going to want to try and still get that Shadow Ball damage. It is indeed going to be the Roost that comes in from the Zapdos. We're not going to Tera, we are going to go for the Shadow Ball. We're not particularly invested, and this does not do a whole huge amount, but we get that all-important special defense drop, and that could be crucial in paving the way for Kilowattrel. It's going to have to be Kilowattrel right now. There was not really much of a chance that Poltchageist would have lived a Shadow Ball from the what's it called, the Gholdengo. So it was always going to have to be endgaming with Kilowattrel and hope that that Gholdengo isn't Sugar Berry. So what I'm going to have to do here is stay in with Poltchageist and try and Shadow Ball this Zapdos if it wants to Roost again. And instead, we are just going to eat shit. The Hurricane comes in from Zapdos. That is going to destroy Poltchageist, unfortunately. But that special defense drop could be very important indeed, because now Kilowattrel can come in, and Thunderbolt is absolutely guaranteed to KO this thing from here. So the plan is simple. We go for Thunderbolt, we kill the Zapdos, and we hope that it isn't Shuckleberry on the Goldengo. First part of that plan has gone perfectly. There was no sense that it ever wouldn't. So now it is Kilowattrel versus Goldengo. Goldengo's at about 75-ish%. As you'll see, it's going to come in here about probably closer to 80%. There is every chance that it can live this hit if it's very specially bulky, but I don't have a choice. I've saved my Tera Ground for this moment. Thunderbolt will not be killing it no matter what, so basically I just have to bank on the fact that this is not Shuckleberry. So we go for the Tera. Here we go. Tera Ground coming in on Kilowattrel to try and make way for that Tera Blast and hope that this thing is not a Shuckleberry Goldengo. That is the only chance we have in this game because Shadow Ball will be taking us out. We're going to go for Tera Blast, and Elly is prepped well enough. She is a Shuckleberry on the Goldengo. So this Tera Blast is going to come in, and it's going to do not a whole huge amount. By the looks of things, it wouldn't have mattered if it wasn't Shuckleberry. I don't think it was going to kill from there. The Shadow Ball is going to come in from the Goldengo, and that is going to do for Kilowattrel. Cutting short its attempts to win this one. Down goes Kilowattrel, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the game. So, yeah. Unfortunate, we take our first loss of the season, but what a game it was. Genuinely a really, really fun game. Quite a lot of back and forth. I think we both made some decent plays there. Now, obviously, if all things had gone well with Haxorus early game, then this could have been very different. If, for example, I'd have gone for a Swords Dance for the second time and then got my Scale Shot kill, I think Haxorus just swept up from there. But it was a risk I wasn't willing to take on Haxorus for the reasons I said. There could have been crits involved, there could have been Icy Wind involved, there could have been multiple chances to miss involved. I basically was giving myself the best chance for Haxorus to do more damage later on by not going for the second Swords Dance. I thought it was the right play in my mind because it negated the most amount of things that could go wrong in that situation. And at least this way I got some value out of Haxorus. You know, in hindsight, we possibly could have just swept from there. But, I mean, if anything, this made it a more interesting game. You know, much as I'd have loved to just sweep through with Haxorus, this made it much more interesting. It made it much closer, it made it much more fun. And that's kind of what we're here for. So, you know, we came close, but, excuse me, unfortunately, we come up just short against, undoubtedly, a very good player, one of the best going. So, big shout out to Elly. Her links are down in the description. Go and show her some love. She's one of my best friends in the world, and she's fantastic. So do that. Go and say hi to Elly. Tell her I sent you. She'll know who I am. I hope. But yes, that is going to wrap things up from here. We are now done with facing the people that we've faced before. We've had 2 grudge matches that we get our revenge for. We've faced off against one of our longest ever rivals, but now we face 2 friends who we have not faced before coming up. And the next one tomorrow is going to be against Luca, the degenerate himself. Luca, if you're watching this, you are a degenerate, never change. I'm really looking forward to that one, should be an absolute barnstormer. So stick around for it. Once again, check out Elly, her link's down there. But I'm going to get out of here. I've rambled on far too long, so my final thank you to you all for watching. And I guess with that, I'll see you next time. Laters.